Minecraft farms are some of the most useful things in the game, and they're not too hard to make, especially these farms I'm going to show you in this video. These are some of the best farms for beginners and just a starter world. So, the first one is a bamboo farm. Firstly, here's all the material lists for this. And before building, feel free to pause the video at any time. There are some differences, like for example, any block, I use 25. However, you could use some extra for scaffolding. Also to note, for the material list, you'll need bone meal. You don't need a specific amount, but for example, at least 1 stack. A bamboo farm is really useful for wood, as bamboo can be turned into wood, which can just be used for chests, hoppers, and so many other things. And while not many people use it in builds, it's good for the necessary things that take any wood. So with this, I'm using some blocks extra that you might need also. As you can see, I break some of the blocks because I won't need them, but you should get some extra of any blocks for scaffolding. Since bamboo can grow pretty high, I built this pillar all the way up to 10 blocks so that the bamboo wouldn't fall outside of here. You could just place a block above the bamboo so it doesn't go this high, but I just did it like this. So here you can either place a piston here or on this block. This just depends on where you want the bamboo to be destroyed. For this example, I'll put it down here. Here you can use any type of clock. For this one, I'm going to be using an observer clock, which will be activated by a lever by pushing the piston and the observer connecting to the other observer. Now, of course, you put the bone meal inside of the dispenser, and you can put 1 stack or just fill it up. And you can even connect a hopper to it to make sure it doesn't run out. Of course, you can switch the sand to mud, grass, or just keep it as sand. It doesn't grow any differently, but it's just for the looks. So now you connect the piston, depending on where you placed it, and I would put it to a lower tick so that it's not too laggy. So as you can see, so far it should do this. You have to make sure to place 2 bamboo so that it grows into this stick. For this design, you actually have to make sure that the redstone is sort of like this, and that the repeater isn't going too fast. I set it to 1 tick so that it's not too fast. Moving on, a bamboo wood crafter. This is the place where you can manually craft bamboo wood. You'll need these materials for it. And of course, once again, for the any block, you can use as much of these and make sure you just have some extra, just in case. You have to make sure that a hopper from the bamboo farm can lead into a crafter. Then place another crafter like this, and place the comparator like this. You have to make sure that 9 redstone pieces connect back into that crafter. Then place a repeater at the end of it, so that when 9 things go into the crafter, it will activate the repeater, which will activate the crafter. As you can see, if you have 9 redstone, eventually when the things go in, it'll power it up all the way up to 9. Which, by placing 2 crafters, it will shoot out bamboo wood. You then have to make sure that there is a collection system like a hopper, and eventually it'll just start spitting it out into bamboo wood. The only reason why you have to have 2 is so that it turns into the planks. If you just want normal bamboo wood, you just need 1. Moving on, a sugarcane farm. Here are the materials you'll need. For this design, you can make it as big as you want. The design I'm using is with 6 sugarcane pieces, so you can obviously increase that, meaning you'll need more redstone dust, pistons, observers, sand, mud, or grass, and hoppers and powered rails. And of course, glass, and any block. So first, make a collection system. You can make this as long as you want, depending on how big the sugarcane farm is going to be. Then place the powered rails on all of them except for the last one, where you're going to place an oak plank. Then place sand above the powered rails. Then place stairs like this. Then make sure to encapsulate these stairs so that the water doesn't come out. Then place the water buckets into the stairs, depending on how much stairs you have. And make sure that the stair is connecting to the sand. Of course, you can use sand, mud, or grass. Then you can cover the stairs. Place pistons above them. So there's two designs to this part. Either you can have one observer like this, where that one observer has to power all the other pistons, as you can see. Or you can have multiple observers for all the sugarcane so that when one of them gets to the top, it will activate all of them no matter what, aside of just the one. This design can be quicker, but of course is more cost efficient. And of course you can put glass or just any other block if you want, just we put glass so that you can actually see. So then you can place the sugarcane, of course, at the bottom. And now over here on the left of your powered rails, not where the chest is, you can place a repeater and a redstone block to power the minecart rail, which you can then place the hopper minecart. As you can see, eventually when it grows, it will do that. And of course it will go into the collection system. So with this design, you can also put bamboo if you want because it grows the same as sugarcane. Sugarcane can't be bone mealed, however in Bedrock it can, so you can basically just replace the bamboo with sugarcane in Bedrock Edition. Next is the sheep farm. And once again, you can use any amount of blocks or scaffolding. Also, you can use up to 9 shears or more depending if you connect a dispenser to a hopper. But you need at least 1 shear. Of course, with this farm, it's a really small farm, so you can of course make multiple modules, like many people do. So, in this example, I'm using the wood as my scaffolding block. So, first make sure to place an observer up to the grass, and place a block behind it so that can power the redstone. You can then place a dispenser and make sure that there's glass around the grass block. Then of course eventually find a sheep. In this case I'll just spawn in the sheep, but you will have to make sure to grab it by using wheat. You have to make sure to place grass around the dirt blocks so that the grass can spread back to the dirt block so that the sheep can eat it again. Once the sheep eats the grass, basically the sheep will gain wool again, but it will detect a change, shearing it once again. Of course this can be done for any type of sheep, no matter the dye, and you can make multiple modules for multiple different colors. And of course you can use as much shears as you want because they'll eventually break. Next up is a mob/XP farm. For this one, For the any block, this one is not a specific amount because you might need some blocks to basically patch up some holes in the wall. And also the hopper and water depend on how big it's going to be, and the hoppers basically depend on where your collection system is going to go. So first, make sure you find a spawner. Of course, there's different types like a zombie or spider spawner, and make sure it's lit up so that basically no mobs will spawn. Then destroy the area and make sure that it turns into a box. So for example, this design is going to be 9 blocks long. So with this dungeon, it's not a very good dungeon because it leads directly into a cave, so this one is a little bit harder. But basically, you just have to make a collection system down here that the zombies will fall into. So as you can see, the water will push all the zombies into this collection system, and you have to make sure to place signs. As you can see, by placing signs, there'll be no water down here, and place a water bucket on either side depending on where you want them to funnel to. Then, of course, make an area for the collection system and where you'll be attacking them for XP. As you can see, by placing a hopper here, they'll all fall onto the hopper, where you'll be able to defeat them, and the drop will fall onto the hopper. And of course, make a collection system, and make sure to do this. You have to have slabs like this so that baby zombies won't come through. And when it's dark, of course, mobs will eventually come. As you can see, the zombies are spawning. Sometimes a zombie will spawn on the top, but eventually they'll despawn. As you can see, you can just defeat them now and get the drops and XP. So now for a way to turn it off and on is make sure that there's a way to actually power a lamp. With this design, since the collection system is not too far from the actual mob farm, we just have to make a redstone line all the way to somewhere in the mob farm. Usually in a dungeon, when there's any light nearby, a mob won't spawn. So for example, at least 2 redstone lamps will suffice. By connecting a redstone lamp anywhere into the dungeon, when you turn on the light, no mobs will spawn. Moving on, the Honeycomb Farm. This farm, similar to the Sugercane Farm, can have a variable amount of items. For example, this one is going to be using 6 beehives instead of more or less. However, you can use more or less, and they'll change the items like dispensers, observers, redstone dust, repeaters, and of course shear. To start, make sure you have bee nests or beehives with bees inside. Then place observers like this. And place any type of block. I'm going to be using wood as my scaffolding block or extra blocks. Then place dispensers like this facing downwards. And place repeaters over the observers facing into the dispensers and place redstone dust. Then in front of the beehives, place any type of flower. For this one, I'm using these. And for this specific design, you can put glass around it like this. Eventually the bees will come in and out of it as time moves, and of course they'll get full. And of course during the night, bees won't be out because of course it's night. So now of course you have to make sure to put shears inside. This of course is any type of amount, at least one in each one. And eventually they'll all be sheer. Now another way you can make this is by making it too wide. As you can see, you can just extend it out and place a few more flowers so that there's more room for the bees. And also, there is another cool design that basically you don't even need any glass. You can just place flowers in front of the beehives and the bees will just be able to fly around. However, you may lose some bees, but a design like that is a cool design if you want to incorporate it into the land. Now, for this too wide design, you have to make a collection system. Now, first make a tunnel under. Then, place hoppers like this and just place a scaffolding block here. Then you can connect the rails like this all the way through the farm. This of course can change depending on how long your farm is, but you just have to make sure that it goes under the full thing. Of course, power it with redstone blocks. And make sure there's a minecart hopper going through. Now on the other side where you place those hoppers, you can then place a chest where the collection system will all go into. As you can see, the honeycomb already goes into it automatically. And over time, you'll just get honeycomb for multiple different things, like wax and copper. And like I said, you can just place a chest at the end of it, like normal. Moving on, a cobblestone farm. These things can also change depending on your scaffolding blocks, because a cobblestone farm, unless you're building it underground, may need quite a lot of scaffolding blocks that are different from the design used. Basically, for a cobblestone farm design, you have to do something like this. First, make an area like this where the cobblestone will generate. Then place water over here, and it might flood a tiny bit, but you can just seal that up for now. This design is going to be 7 blocks long. You can probably make it longer or even shorter. Then make a platform over here. And you can place blocks over the water. Then place lava over so that the lava goes over the water that's currently running. And as you can see, if you just break the blocks, the stone will just appear. And you can place a sign so that the water doesn't flood everything. And of course, in survival mode, you can just spam the button. And as you can see, the lava is always above the water that's going to be flowing, so the water that's flowing turns into stone. And as you can see, you can just AFK here with cobblestone. However, you have to make a collection system. For this collection system, you have to make sure that it is under the stone. Because since you're breaking the stone, when you break it, it'll just fall into the hopper immediately. However, sometimes there might be water over the hopper, but that doesn't do anything. So as you can see with this design, most of the stone will be collected. Sometimes, of course, the lava will burn the stone if it goes up when an item drops. However, most of the time it will go into the hopper because it automatically gets sucked up. Now, of course, as you can see, the cobblestone is now in the thing, and you can also use silk touch to get normal stone. As you can see, with a silk touch pickaxe, you will get normal stone too if you need, which is also really useful. Now, a lava farm. This one also depends on how big you want your lava farm to be, but with the basic design, you'll probably need these type of items. For this one, you won't need redstone at all. So first get a cauldron, then get some scaffolding blocks and place a dripstone block like here. And then place a dripstone spike with lava encased above the dripstone block like this. As you can see, now the dripstone spike will start dripping lava. You can also make it a bit bigger, which actually doesn't change anything, but it might seem faster. And eventually, lava will appear in the cauldron. Now this is only for a single design. You can extend it by placing dripstone like this, and by placing the dripstone spikes under it and placing lava above. And eventually, after a while, the cauldrons will fill up with lava, making a pretty good way to get lava for fuel, because lava is one of the best fuel sources in a smelter. Moving on to Cactus Farm. For this one, you'll need quite a lot of items. As you can see, this design may need some more items or less, so I'd grab some extra. So, for a small design, this is how you would do it. Make sure that the water is flowing all the way to the edge. You can make this as long as you want or as short as you want, just make sure that the water flows to the edge. So this design will be pretty long. And once you place in the water, it'll all go into this stream. If it's too long, you can also make sure to just place hoppers under the places that don't get covered by the water that's flowing towards the hoppers. As you can see, something like this. And you can just make sure to place hoppers under the water too, just in case. And now you get a design like this. As you can see, this furnace will just fall into the water and get funneled into the hoppers. Now, for the actual cactus part, you'll need sand. So this you can divide as much as you want. So a good way to divide this area is by placing one in the corner first and putting them with 1 block space. So as you can see, you can make this grid and eventually you can place sand on top of it. And cactus on top of the sand. Now, for this next part, you might need some scaffolding blocks, but basically, in between every single cactus, make sure that there is a fence post. As you can see, there is now a fence in between every single cactus. Once the cactus grows, it will immediately be broken. So as you can see, the cactuses get broken by the fence post and they fall into the water. Now you can also duplicate this design by placing more on top of each other like this. However, there is one problem with this. The collection system is not that big enough. You can either build walls completely around the cactus farm so that blocks of cactus can't fall into the wall, getting stuck there and despawning, or you can make a bigger collection system. This system just works with the flow of water. You have to make sure it's big enough where, if you just place the water all around, it doesn't just automatically fill up, because that's what happened when I did it. So you have to place it in a certain way so that they actually get funneled to the middle. So if you place it in a design like this, most of the cactus will eventually actually reach the middle. However, there'll be some spots that won't, and depending on how big you made it, that's the parts that you'll have to try and fix. For example, this design, there's cactuses getting stuck over here, which means that I'll have to place some water so that it doesn't and still gets funneled to the middle. So by placing water in between, the cactuses eventually get pushed into the middle. So by placing water all in between of these, it just gets pushed. Which this inevitably depends on how big your cactus farm is going to be. You just have to make sure that it does get funneled into the middle, because that's where we're going to build the collection system. So either, of course, you can place hopper minecarts under, or with this design you can just place hoppers, because anyways it'll get picked up. So by building an area down here, you can make a collection system, for example this hopper, and you can build a 3x3 area for the hoppers. As you can see, the 3x3 area is in the middle and it guarantees pickup. And after a tiny bit of time, we already got 38 cactuses, which of course can be used for multiple things. So those are some of the best starter farms that you can make in your survival world. So which one is your favorite and which ones are you going to be using? Let us know, and make sure to subscribe.